After researching the market for about 1 year, I decided to upgrade from the Kawasaki Vulcan S to the Harley-Davidson sportglide. Today I will tell you the main differences about them and if it was worth the upgrade. Hello my friends, I'm Spell and welcome back to the channel. So where do we start? Shall we start with the price, the comfort, the style, the difference in power? You know what, who cares about that? About prices, specs and the differences that you can only tell by riding the bike. So let's start with what really matters, which is the looks. Although the Vulcan S style is heavily inspired by cruisers, it follows a very modern, sporty even approach to try and attract a younger crowd, I would assume. In general, I think the Vulcan S is a good looking bike, although I find the headlight and the rear end to be not that pretty. But hey, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The sportglide, on the other hand, embraces the classic look of a cruiser with just some hints of modernity here and there, like the mini fairing that I removed it because I don't like it that much, the wheels, the short fender on the front and so on. We can include the tail as well, as compared to other Harleys it is quite modern. But yeah, you have that rounded headlight here, the wide handlebars, the use of chrome as you can see, and so on. That really shows the heritage and the pedigree of the sportglide. So based only on the looks, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments below. So what is like to ride them? Let's start with the engines. The Vulcan S is a more peppy engine, always asking you to ride it on high RPMs. It asks to be ridden like a sports bike. The 649 engine on the Vulcan S doesn't really like to be ridden on low RPMs like traditional cruisers powered by V-twin engines. I mean, this engine, although tuned differently, is powering bikes like the Ninja 650 and the Versys 650. It is great and extremely reliable, but we need to look at its DNA, and my friends, it doesn't really have cruiser in the blood. On the other hand, the sportglide offers that classic cruiser feeling that Milwaukee 8 107 engine allows you to ride it at low RPMs, you know, cruising at low speeds, just the way I like it. And it does it without complaining or asking you to go faster. But make no mistake, it might not have the sporty feeling of the Vulcan S, but if you twist the throttle, you'll have to hold on tight because this thing really flies. She is just as fast as the Vulcan S. So of course, in terms of speed, you are not getting an upgrade there. But if speed and sporty feeling is your priority, I think you should be looking at other bikes like the Ducati Diavo, the Triumph Rocket 3, or even the Harley-Davidson Sportster S. You do get some more vibrations from the Vulcan S, kind of a buzz that after a while can get a bit annoying. On the other hand, the sportglide, despite being a Harley, and we all know that Harleys are famous for its vibrations, it is actually quite smooth. Still on the engine subject, the Vulcan S can be a bit twitchy, a bit nervous on first gear, so you really need to master the clutch and throttle control technique. And of course, a good clutch and throttle control is essential on any bike. The sportglide can be very forgiving. She is very smooth throughout all the gears, but clutch and throttle control is still essential here. Do you want to speak about specs? I don't really want to bore you that much with it. You can simply go on the Kawasaki and Harley-Davidson website and get the figures from there. But very quickly, the Vulcan S delivers 62 horsepower at 7,500 RPMs and 46.5 foot-pounds of torque at 6,600 RPMs. whilst the Sportglide delivers 82 horsepower at 5000 RPMs and 107 foot-pound of torque at 3,500 RPMs. 107. Smart, eh? As we are speaking about numbers, let's address the performance aspect of it. In terms of speed, they are equally fast. According to the figures I could find online, both the 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds. Although very similar, I find the Sportglide acceleration to be more satisfying, and I think that's because of the extra weight. It feels absolutely amazing. And when it comes to carve some mountain roads, the Vulcan S takes the lead here, as it has a higher lean angle of 32 degrees versus 29 on the Sportglide. Both are very nimble, but I think the Vulcan S, due to the sporty DNA and much lighter weight, really takes the lead here. You know I'm not a fast rider whatsoever, so I don't really need to make extreme use of the brakes. So for me, all of them worked just fine. No complaints here. It always stopped me when I needed. So on the subject of brakes, I use engine braking a lot, and I mean a lot. The engine braking on the Vulcan S is strong, maybe a bit too strong. In turn, the Sportglide engine braking is much smoother. Still very usable, it still stops you quickly, but it doesn't launch you towards the bars like the Vulcan S. Oh, and whilst we are here, let's talk about fuel efficiency. Believe it or not, despite the huge difference in engine size, fuel efficiency is almost the same. I was and am very surprised about that. I was expecting to see the Sportglide drinking fuel like if there was no tomorrow. But the reality is, although yes, it drinks more than the Vulcan S, the difference is very small. I'll show you. I have been keeping track of my motorcycle expenses, including fuel, using the app Drivo, or Driver, whatever you say it. And looking at it, it tells me that I was doing on the Vulcan S an average of 4.8 liters per 100 kilometers, or if you prefer, about 59 miles per gallon, British measure. Pretty decent, eh? I think so. Now, of course, I haven't done 3 years worth of riding on the Sportglide, but so far my average sits at about 5.2 liters per 100 kilometers, or around 54 miles per gallon. I think this is simply impressive. My friends, we are talking about a big 1745cc V-twin engine on a bike that weighs almost 100 kilos more than the Vulcan S. Simply awesome, I would say. We will talk a bit more about costs in a moment. Let's move to comfort first. In terms of the seating triangle, both are very similar. Maybe on the Vulcan S my arms are slightly higher when compared to the Sportglide. My feet are pretty much at the same position, not much difference there. It is great that the Vulcan S features an ErgoFit system that basically allows you to adapt the bike to your height or your preference. I explained it before, but you can change the reach of the handlebars, the seat and the foot pegs. You basically have 3 options: reduced reach, standard and extended reach. On some countries or dealers, those options are available for free when you order your brand new bike. On others, you will have to pay for it. But anyway, the Vulcan S is not that comfortable at all. It can be, but on its stock form, it is a bit rough. The seat is hard, it feels like you are sat on a piece of wood. So yeah, big thumbs down from me. And according to my girlfriend, that's pretty much the same for the pillion seat. And then the suspension is not the best one either. So it doesn't really provide a good comfort at all. I mean, if you only ride on perfect roads, then you will be okay-ish. You will still be complaining about the seat though. And that suspension, it is really rubbish at dealing with road imperfections and potholes. The Sport Glide, on the other hand, is totally the opposite. Yes, you do not have that ergo fit system, so if the handlebars are a bit too far away for you, you will have to buy different ones or pull back risers. But the comfort is simply unreal. The seat is awesome. Even my girlfriend is happy with the stock pillion seat. I know lots of people don't like the stock seat and upgrade to a Sundowner or any other aftermarket option. As I said in another video, if I had one complaint about the seat, it would be the lack of a more pronounced back support. And the suspension is amazing. I mean, the rear suspension offers 3.4 inches of travel, very similar to the Vulcan S that offers 3.2. But the quality of that monoshock is brilliant. I tell you, I'm not here making this up because I bought a Sport Glide, but it just glides over those road imperfections and potholes. It really provides you with a smooth ride. So yeah, comfort-wise, you can't really compare them. It's more than a day and night difference. Oh, and another thing, when riding with the pillion, the Sport Glide deals with it much better. It pretty much feels like you are riding solo, and it continues to provide a very smooth ride, unlike the Vulcan S. A big part of the comfort is the weight, how comfortably you can maneuver the bike around without worrying, for example, about dropping the bike. Well, the Vulcan S weighs only 223 kilos, whilst the Sport Glide takes that up a notch and weighs about 317 kilos. That's a massive difference. But I have to say, yes, the Vulcan S is much easier to maneuver around the garage and all that. On the Sport Glide, it takes a bit more of an effort, but that's still not too bad. And after a few days, you do get used to that extra weight. The Sport Glide is very well balanced and with a very low center of gravity, so it never feels excessively heavy or anything. And just like the Vulcan S, well, the seat is very low, so you can flat-foot it easily. And in terms of quality of the materials used and build quality in general, it really shows the price difference. You look at the Sport Glide and it is a solid bike. It is a heavy metal machine. Hell yeah. The Vulcan S, as I said on one of my video reviews, it uses a lot of plastics. But you know, you can't really complain when you look at the price. And to be fair, the plastics, they keep the price and the weight down. The Vulcan S suffered from some rust problems, especially around the swing arm and areas of difficult access that basically prevented me from applying SEF 50. The Sport Glide is currently looking great, but it is only fair to say that she has been with me for just about 6 months, although she is now 1 year old. She's not totally rust free. There are some rusts inside the exhaust. Lots of it actually. I actually need to do something about it. But to be honest, I haven't really paid that much attention to it, as I plan to change it anyway, so you know. And on some of the bolts holding the exhaust system, but other than that, so far, so good. Going back to the cost, so we already know that fuel efficiency is very similar, but there are other things that of course will not be that similar at all. For example, I took the Sport Glide for the first year service the other day and I had to part with £300 of my hard-earned money. When I did the same with the Vulcan S, I only paid £125. A huge difference right there. Insurance is more expensive too. I mean, the Sport Glide is way more expensive than the Vulcan S anyway. So what would you expect? But we need to bear in mind that at least here in the UK, it really depends on many factors like your age, how long you have been riding with no accidents, where you live, where you keep the bike at night, and the list goes on. Road tax is the same, at least here in the UK, there is no difference whatsoever. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to talk to you about the actual cost of each bike. The Vulcan S in 2022 is costing pretty much £7,000, whilst the Sportglide is costing close to 17k. That's 10k more than the Vulcan S. Let me say something, the price difference is crazy. I'll be extremely honest and say that I don't really see where those extra 10k's are. The Sportglide for me is way better than the Vulcan S in pretty much every aspect, but I still find it hard to justify those extra 10k. If I was to simply look at it and put it a price, I would say 13 to 14k would be like the sweet spot. At the end of the day, the quality is there, it shows. You have a much bigger and better engine, she's much more comfortable, and the list goes on. But anyway, it is the way things are nowadays. To be fair, everything is going up massively, be that the price of bikes, car, houses, food, fuel, electricity, and so on. At the end of the day, it can get to a point where money doesn't really matter much. It's hard to put a price on the smile and pleasure you can get from owning and riding a certain bike. Of course, you still need to find the money for that. There's no other way around. I'll not go over my story again, and you know it very well by now, but in my case, I went and worked a part-time job to buy the Sportglide, a 6-month-old Sportglide. So, ask me, Spell, was it worth it? Is the Sportglide a good upgrade? My friends, let's put it this way. I would do it all over again. I would go and work night shifts again to be able to buy one. The smile it puts on my face is just priceless, and at the end of the day you can't put a price on a dream. And for me, owning a Harley-Davidson was a dream that I thought, especially when I was still living in Portugal, that it would never become a reality. So then, of course, when I was finally able to make this dream come true, man, it is such a nice feeling that I can't even put words to it. So yeah, leaving emotions aside, if you have a Kawasaki Vulcan S and you are looking to upgrade, then yeah, the Sportglide is an awesome bike to get, especially if you manage to get a slightly used one, so you don't have to pay the 17k they are asking nowadays. And that's it, my friends. I'm sure much more was left to say. We could go on and discuss many other aspects, but then this video would take much longer. Anyway, if you have any questions about it, if there is something else you want to know about the differences between these two bikes, just let me know. Write a comment down below and I'll come back to you as soon as possible. Well, my friends, thank you very much for watching. Ride safe, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Rock on!